Hello and welcome, I'm Kurt and this is England to Finland. It's been just over 1 year now since I moved to Finland and started the channel, and it's been a bit of a roller coaster of a ride. In this video I'm going to be talking about how everything went, the ups, the downs, and then everything else in between. At the end I'm going to give you a little bit of an update of what I'm doing at the moment and what I've got in store for the future. So starting off June last year, I started off by first driving from England over here to Finland. That's when I decided I was going to make the YouTube channel without much of an idea of what I would be doing on the channel. Similarly, almost said that right, similarly, I didn't do much planning of my move, and I was under the impression that I would land on my feet as soon as get a job and get a visa. It'd be a perfect move, nothing would go wrong. But that didn't happen. After I arrived, I was super excited to make as many YouTube videos as possible, apply for a few jobs and get a visa. I made some videos and then I realised how much hard work goes into it all, how much you have to learn and all the different skills you need, how much time it takes. So instead I learned how to make ramen, I ate cake, I grew strawberries, I visited the cabin, and then I chilled out with the dog. Then in July I was introduced to the sauna and fishing and started a little bit of running training again. Got up to around about 15 miles in the running program, and then that tailed off a little bit when other things got a little bit more hectic. August was a little bit quiet. I did lots of job hunting. Applied for so many jobs, and then I visited Amsterdam with a few friends for my birthday party. That was really fun, really interesting. September is when things started to get a little bit more interesting is a good word for it, but a little bit more hectic as well. It started coming up to my 90 days inside the Schengen area, which would mean if I didn't get a visa in time, then I would have to leave, and that's not just leave Finland, the country, but leave every country in the Schengen region. I couldn't go to more or less anywhere in Europe. So knowing that that was coming up, I decided to improve my ramen recipe, and surprisingly that did not help, and I did not get everything sorted in time, and I had to leave for 90 days. It was quite stressful at the time because I didn't want to go back to England, I couldn't stay in Finland, and I couldn't even stay in many of the countries in Europe, so it was nowhere close that I was allowed to be. After a lot of research, I decided I would do my 90 days of exile in Montenegro. I got a flight to Croatia and then a coach across the border. I really didn't know what to expect, but it turned out the place were pretty epic, and I spent a lot of my time improving my IT skills through self-learning, through Udemy, through YouTube, with the aim of becoming more employable in Finland. I had one interview while I was there. It was a remote interview with a startup company that was from Denmark. I got to the second interview, but I didn't get the job. I got some feedback. They said they liked how I was as a person, but they said that I should probably not say that I can YouTube any problems that I get. So I went to YouTube and I checked, I typed in, can I YouTube any IT problems that I get? And the person on the video said, yes I can. So maybe they didn't know that what they was talking about, I don't know. But yeah, I probably won't say that again in an interview. October, I extended my stay in the same place in Montenegro for another month, and I just continued studying. At the time I only knew how to use WordPress, but then I learned how to use HTML, CSS, and then moving on to JavaScript in the future. November, I spent a little bit longer in Montenegro before I decided to spend the last bit of my time out of the Schengen region in Albania, just as a bit of a change of scenery. I was getting a bit stir crazy being inside the same place. In Albania I didn't really leave that flat much because of I didn't enjoy the area, I didn't like the vibe. It might have been the place I was the time I was there, but yeah, I just really didn't enjoy that experience. But it did me good for that. It gave me more time to study, because if you narrow down of what you can do, then you're forced to do what you can. And after that, I carried on applying for jobs at the same time. Anything that came up, I kept applying for it, kept learning. And then in December, it was time to finally get back to Finland. The only problem was that in Albania it was 16 degrees and in Pori in Finland it was -4 degrees. At the time I was wearing my shorts, so I chucked them into my suitcase and didn't look at them for a long time after that. Headed back, and for the remainder of December I spent a lot of the time just relaxing, getting used to the Finnish winter. Very, very cold. It was something I need to get used to. I experienced my first Finnish Christmas. It was quite different from all the others that I've experienced. I had lots of seafood, and then the day after the Christmas meal, which was what the English people would call Christmas Day, that's when we went round to see all the family, see the grandparents, had lots of coffee, and I got gifted with lots of thermal clothing, which I really did need because I didn't have much in the way of clothing to survive through the Finnish winter. So January, that's heading into this year now, into 2023. I tried to start running again. I went running one time, decided it was too cold, didn't go again. Sat behind the computer, carried on applying for jobs, doing more learning and just doing what I could from behind the PC screen. February, it turns out I did not take even one single picture for the whole of February, and I don't really remember much from February either, so I'm guessing I did embrace the Finnish culture and I started to hibernate through the winter. And this time I was also frantically trying again to get a job because my 90 days in the Schengen area was coming up so fast. It seemed like it'd be such a short amount of time since I got back, but yeah, the 90 days was coming up again. March, I didn't end up getting a visa, didn't get a job, so I was back looking at my options. This time first I went back to England. I went to see a friend and he had his wedding, and I visited some friends and family while I was there, and I stayed in an Airbnb with a person called Kev. Kev was a right character, had so many stories, he'd visited so many different places, and I was talking to him about my plans of what I was going to do. So initially I was planning on going back to Montenegro, just doing the same thing again, studying. But after hearing a story from Kev, he said that he'd been volunteering in France, in Calais, helping out refugees. So I was quite inspired by him, so I contacted a volunteer placement group, and a few days later I had an interview with a person who was working in Bosnia, in Sarajevo, and they were helping people on the move, giving out clothes and things like that, aid. And by the weekend I had a flight booked and I headed out to Bosnia to help people on the move. April, while I was in Bosnia, I stayed in a volunteering house with other people who were working on the project. We were mainly distributing items of clothing for people who needed it. We were receiving donation shipments and sorted them into warehouses and then distributed them when an order was placed. At the same time as this, I was getting to see some of the country, seeing Sarajevo, seeing the different culture, and then continuing with my studies where I could at the same time. Then going into May, after a lot more exploring of the capital city of Bosnia, which is Sarajevo, my volunteering time came to an end and I visited a place called Visegrad, which is a small historic town. It's very close to the border of Serbia, and the place I stayed was very small and cosy, and it was a beautiful place. It's just what I needed. It was perfect just to study, relax, study more, and it was in this time I started doing community projects on GitHub, open source projects, and then I finished my first MERN stack application. This was a huge progression from not even a year ago, 6-8 months ago, when I was only using WordPress. So even though I took a step back trying to live in Finland, I took a step forward in my education, that I could do so much more things now, and it did make a big difference seeing the improvement. So June, my second exile was coming to an end, and the next step was getting back to Finland. So I had to travel back to Finland, and we just had one stop in between Sarajevo and Finland, and that was France for a family wedding. So I took a 9-hour coach ride from Sarajevo to Croatia, and then I flew to France. The wedding was amazing. It was 2 days long. It was just everything you want in for a wedding. And that was around about 1 year after my first video where I was moving over to Finland. So what's next? So currently, work-wise, I've recently secured a contract for 6 months for a job in IT. I've done all the paperwork. I've went to the immigration office, got all the paperwork sorted. It's just got a last few bits for them to send back to me now. Studying, so most exciting news that I've got, I secured a spot in university, and this is the most excited I've been for a long while of anything. It's something that I never thought I would do, to be honest. I never thought I'd be going to university. But yeah, I'm doing the UAS pathway study programme and studying ICT. One of the problems that I've had getting a job in Finland is the lack of formal qualifications and education, not having much of a network of people to talk to, see what's out there. And I think that this might solve a lot of them problems. So the pathway programme, it's remote for the first year with the possibility of studying on site for the second and third year. That's also massively excited for that. Future for the YouTube channel and plans for pleasure. I'm planning on dusting off the cobwebs of the camera and doing more videos. I've got lots of adventures lined up and places that I want to visit, and if you've got any recommendations where you think I should visit, stick it in the comments. And recently I went to Helsinki, checked out the Tom of Finland museum, the museum in Helsinki, visited and checked out the Tom of Finland exhibition in there. That makes more sense. That was amazing. I knew a lot about Tom of Finland before, mainly about his products, but I didn't really know his backstory, and getting to know all that, very, very interesting, highly recommended. I'm not sure when that finishes, but yeah, if you get a chance to go to Helsinki, get to the museum, Tom of Finland. And then some final thoughts. Even though over the last year I spent less than 50% of the time actually living in Finland, it's still been my story of moving from England to Finland, so it's still part of moving from England to Finland. And there's been lots of detours, and there's been lots of unexpected events, and there's also been lots of unexpected friends that I've met, lots of people I never knew existed, never thought I'd be around, and it's been very eye-opening, and I'm very positive at the minute where I am, and very positive for the future. But if you enjoyed what I've been talking about, if you're interested in what I'm going to be doing in the future, give us a like and give us a subscribe. And I'll see you around. Have a great day.